This is an adaptation of a recipe that I saw Lydia Bastianich do quite a few years ago, and it's probably my all-time favorite way to eat potatoes. Here's how I do it. Starting out with some Yukon Gold potatoes. These are my favorite potatoes for just about anything that calls for potatoes. One of the main reasons I like them is because they have a thin skin, and you don't really have to peel them. I just cut off any of the blemished areas, and I just leave the skin on. There's lots of vitamins and fiber in the skin. I like leaving it on. They are also a little bit less starchy than some of the other potato varieties, and I like that too. But for this recipe, feel free to use whatever potato that you like best. But I'm just going to slice them up into about 1-inch cubes. I find that this size works best. If you cut them much larger than this, they take a long time to cook. So this size works pretty good for me. You can also cut them up into triangles or zigzags, whatever potato shape you like, I guess. Next up is a red onion. I like red onion because of the flavor and the color, but again, use a white onion, yellow onion, whatever onion you like. I'm going to halve the onion and then cut them up into slices, so it's going to be like half rings. Next is cherry tomatoes. This is my preferred tomato for this recipe, but I've made it in the past with full-size tomatoes and just cut them up into smaller chunks. But with the cherry tomatoes, I usually slice them in half. But sometimes I just get a little impatient and just end up just dumping all the cherry tomatoes in there too without slicing them. It works good either way. And again, full-size tomatoes cut into smaller chunks works just as well. Next is some oil. I like canola oil because it's got a high smoke point and a very neutral flavor. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. I never measure these things. I just do a liberal sprinkling. And the main seasoning that's going to be the signature of this dish is oregano. I love oregano, and I think if you get some good quality fresh oregano, it makes a heck of a lot of a difference. The cheap brand oregano that's been sitting on the grocery store shelf for 2 years is not going to taste very good. If you have fresh oregano, that's even better, but just some high quality jarred oregano is my preference. And like I said, the oregano is going to be the main seasoning here, and I'm going to put a lot of it on there. So we got the potatoes, onions, and tomatoes, and the seasonings all in the bowl, and I'm going to give it a thorough mix. I usually toss it like this, but you may want to use a spoon or some other kind of utensil. The point is to just get them all mixed around until they're pretty evenly coated. Doesn't need to be perfect. Next, I'm going to line a sheet pan with parchment paper. I like parchment paper because it guarantees a non-stick surface. Works great for this recipe. I'm just going ahead and dump all those vegetables out onto the sheet paper and spread them out. Next is Parmesan. Just like with the oregano, I do recommend that you get some real Parmesan cheese. The stuff you get in the can is probably not even Parmesan. Mostly Romano cheese is in those cans, and it just tastes a little bit different. Personally, I like real Parmesan for this. And I'm going to use this microplane tool to shred the Parmesan. It's like a really fine cheese grater, and it just makes really small shreds of the cheese that melt really well. If you don't have one of those microplanes, I've found that a vegetable peeler can work pretty good for hard cheeses like Parmesan. You can just make thin strips with the vegetable peeler. But I'm going to grate that Parmesan all across the top of this pan here and get everything nice and coated with Parmesan, and then pop it in that 425 degree preheated oven, and I'm going to set a timer for 30 minutes. And 30 minutes later, here we go. The potatoes are soft and cooked all the way through. The tomatoes are shriveled and just have really concentrated roasted tomato flavor. The Parmesan is browned on top, and those little white strings that you see there, those are crunchy bits. This was 30 minutes of bake time. Obviously, you could do a little bit more or a little bit less depending on how much browning you like on here. But to me, this looks pretty much perfect. And tonight we're pairing this with some sauteed salmon and broccoli. As I said before, this is probably my all-time favorite roasted potatoes recipe. Give it a try. Maybe it'll be yours too. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. See you on the next one.